funny enough, Ryan recruited me into mortgage sales back in 2020 when rates, dropped. My whole plan was to go to law school, and I couldn't take the LSAT because I was graduating into the pandemic. So I kind of had to pivot. Ryan was like, "Hey, you're great at talking to people. You'd probably crush it in sales." So nowhere else was hiring, to say the least. So I was like, you know what, might as well give it a try because apparently I have something, nothing to do this year since I can't go to school anymore. So that being said, I ended up getting hired. I realized I had an knack for talking to people, but I really hated the pipeline. I hated the inconsistency of the mortgage space. So I realized really quickly that was not going to be for me long term. So jumped into insurance. Ryan kind of eyeballed me for a couple months to see if it was something he wanted to do. And then eventually he ended up coming and
Well,
joining me.
my goal, because she was going to go to like Harvard and go to law school. So my goal was to try to get her into sales so she get a taste of the money and then not leave.
Not go to law
Oh
school.
yeah.
Yeah. And it worked. So here we are.
Yeah. But he was running
Yeah.
a mortgage branch. And so it was obviously a bigger move for him than it was for me. And it was kind of a joke at first. Like I kept joking with Nina and Hayden. I was like, yeah, I was like, I'm gonna get him over here. And it was just kind of like a joke. And then eventually the market started to turn and
Yeah, I was working in the mortgage industry for like 7 years, and I ended up like working my way up to a point where I was managing a mortgage company, but it was just an incredibly inconsistent, like cyclical industry. And there wasn't really any more growth from like the point that I was at. And I made like 400 grand that previous year, but I just knew I was like, that's not going to last. Like that was during a refi
Yeah.
boom. And so when that started happening, and I started to see like I literally never thought I was going to leave mortgages, but once I saw like what people were making in insurance and just how everything worked, I was like, this is kind of crazy. Like maybe like the wheels kind of started turning. And then I ended up leaving that job. I made 400 grand that year and left and took a pay cut. Took me like 10 months to get back to making in a month what I was making before. But I knew like in the long run it was going to be worth it.
Dude, so Mike File was in the mortgage business. Jamie and I owned a mortgage company.
oh
And
no way.
after that crash in '09, when we lost everything, I'm like, dude, this business, I can't do that again. And
Yeah.
that's
Nope.
because the rug literally got pulled out from underneath us. Like there
Yep.
was no signs. It was just like all of a sudden 15 banks closed and we lost, you know, 180 grand in the pipeline in 24 hours of like that. It was awful. So you made the right move because this is way more consistent, no matter what. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So good for that. So how long have you been here at FFL, both of you? This is your what year?
4 years.
4 years
Yeah,
now.
just now 4 years.
And how
So,
much did you guys issue last year as a whole?
15 million.
yeah, 15 million.
And I think we're already at 5 million and how I don't know how much of IP has been dropped, I think through week 2 of March. So
Mhm.
definitely on track for more this year. But I think we're a little different than a lot of other, I don't want to say a lot of other, there are a lot of people who have had to rebuild, but we weren't those superstars that came in and like just crushed it from day one.
Well,
Like,
I mean, I will say, so when we started, I was like on a mission to build an agency, like from like day one. So
Yeah.
my first 30 days, I was like, I'm gonna sell my butt off, get it down, start recruiting like crazy. I recruited a ton of people, we recruited a ton of people, and we did build it up very quickly. We got to like 700K a month within
in
our
like
first
8 months or
like
so.
8 months, right? We were crushing it. But like within 2 months, we went from 700K down to like 230. And we really like screwed ourselves because we weren't building in a way that was sustainable. So what we had to do was turn around and honestly, we got a lot of chargeback debt, a lot of roll up debt. I was starting to question, like, did I make the right move? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I realized I'm like, you know what? This happened as a result of like how we chose to build the business. It wasn't the business itself. It was our own actions. And so that's also when I learned, I'm like, it really comes down to like learning. Like you have to be someone who's going to push through those hard times and learn from it and recalibrate and then move forward, right? Knowing what you know now. And so that's exactly what we did and hit 2.4 million last month.
Yeah, that's dope. You guys are rolling for sure. And I think everybody, I love when those types of things happen. Like when you go and it hurts, go 700,000 to 250. Like it's a punch in the gut. But then we see what you're made of real quick. And I think,
Yeah.
and by the way, most people don't come in like superstars and take off. That's their FFL's contracted over the last 12 years over 100,000 agents. And there's like 5 of them that have come in and done, you know what I mean?
Fair
Like
enough.
the Stanley Smiths and the Jay Maskas and like,
Yeah.
but Jay had been doing this already for 3 years. So it's like he wasn't even coming in. He was already doing insurance. You know what I mean? So it's like the rest of the world is just like you. And that's good because I do think a lot of people look at social media and look at people's success and like they just started. No, they've been here. You just didn't hear of them because they weren't doing anything. They're just like
Yeah.
everybody else. I know for Jamie and I, the first year, I mean, we went from making tons of money in the mortgage business to making like 39 grand. It was like the worst thing in the world. I wanted to literally slip my wrist and sit in a warm bathtub. It was bad. Um, and it
Accurate though.
sounded like it's so, like bad. I just felt like the biggest loser in the world, but we
Yeah.
just needed to stick it out till we figured it out. And that's what you guys have done. What adjustments, when you say you figured out you built it wrong, because that's the biggest thing you said in that whole thing is I realized I didn't build it right. When most people are looking for somebody or something to blame it on, you just looked in the mirror and said, what did I do wrong? What did you do wrong? And what have you guys corrected along the way?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was something that when it comes to like our journey here, that's something that we've been super transparent about is like, yes, we all want mentorship. We all want someone to be, point us in the right direction. But at the end of the day, it's like we did stuff wrong and we were willing to kind of say that and move forward. And it took some time to obviously rebuild. And the biggest thing for us was just bringing new people in and setting new expectations. And I think that's like when you're looking at like your business as it exists today, a lot of that is a result of you and the expectations you set with the people, right, that are a part of your business. And I think for us, we kind of came into insurance when it was just transitioning into virtual sales. And I don't know if you remember this, but it was like, oh, $1,000 or 1,000 dials, right? And we were kind of recruiting in this, I, I don't know, like delusional way of like, yeah, come in, be your own boss, like make a sale on the day and then it's noon and you can go do whatever. Like, kind of just not a
Very nonchalant.
very nonchalant. We had a lot of people that came in and didn't approach the business very seriously because of that way that we were
But
recruiting.
I'll say this too, like we really wanted to build something, and so like we were working hard, and I just thought like, okay, if I recruit all these people, like they're all going to see the same vision, like they're going to work as hard as us, and that was just simply was not the case. So then we realized, I'm like, well, we do have some people that are crushing it. Like, what are those people doing? We're just going to take what they're doing, and then we're gonna set those as the expectations for everyone coming in, because that'll give everyone the best chance of success.
Yeah, and something when it comes to like a newer agent as well, especially when people come in with this mentality that they're here in a sales position in a way, like we had to kind of rewire the way that we were mentoring and understand that sales is maybe 20% of success in this, like it's maybe lower, right? And the rest is really how much are you showing up? What is your mentality like? And how successful of an entrepreneur are you? Like how well are you managing money in versus money out? Like how much are you understanding the concept and the principles of business, of investing into your business, of like making sure that you hedge yourself against chargebacks and against the bad months and the bad weeks and the things that you can't avoid? Like how well are we coaching people on that? How well are we coaching people on the correct mentality to have, how to keep themselves
The
level?
reality is like if you have the sales ability, like that'll only take you so far if you don't have the mindset, right? Because as soon as you get some adversity in the business, even if you're good at sales, like you're not going to be able to mentally push past the adversity. And like that comes for all of us, right? And on the flip side, if you start and you have the right mindset, maybe you don't have the sales ability, the ability will come with that mindset. Like you're going to put in the reps, you're going to develop the skill set.
So, kind of in summary for us, we realized our mentorship didn't just extend to sales. We had to help develop people as business people, and mentally, right? Like we had to, which meant we had to personally develop, right? So we adopted strict morning routines. We were pouring into ourselves as entrepreneurs and as people, right? We were listening to the podcast. We were taking it extremely seriously. We were showing up early. We were leaving late. Like we started to treat it as a business and express to people like, hey, you should treat this as a business too. And this is the important piece. The people that weren't on board with that, we let go. And I know that that sounds like terrible advice, but it's like, it's true because I can't move the needle if I'm the only one doing it. And like, that's what a lot of people have to understand is it's like the momentum and like the things that you see people have, it's not about one person. It's not about me doing it or Ryan doing it. It's about everyone being on board and doing that together. So we had to really decide what was the standard and were we willing to like let people go if they weren't maintaining the standard to create the environment that we wanted.
Yeah, you have to be willing to pour into yourself. And something we tell our team all the time is like your bank account is going to mirror your level of personal development. So like you have to be willing to constantly develop yourself. Like that's why the morning routine for us, we do a morning routine. We get up, we go to the gym, we listen to a podcast or some, FFL training of some kind that's going to help you get better, right? And you do that every single day. You wake up early, you choose to do something hard, you choose to learn, and you're just going to grow and grow 1% better every day.
I think the crazy thing is everybody thinks there's some magical secret y'all have, and it's
Yeah.
really not. It's so simple to do what you guys are saying, like get up every day at the same time, go to the gym, have your routine, listen to a podcast, self develop. Like, dude, that's just it. Truly is just a decision. But people are like, no, they have something magical. No, they don't. Like, they don't. They just are willing to do the little things until it works. And you guys do that every day. And once you start doing it, it becomes a habit, obviously. And it's like now you can't not do it because you just don't feel right, and that's when you
Mhm.
Yep.
start to
Yep.
get there. So, what are those expectations you set for a new agent? Because I do think that's a huge deal with getting agents started. You guys, from a schedule standpoint, lead standpoint, activity standpoint, what does that look like if I was brand new?
Yeah. So you want to go?
Yeah, I think so. One thing is it's two parts, right? It's setting the expectation up front on the hiring call. But I also do this again, and I'll go through what they are. I do this again when somebody passes their exam, gets their contracts, and is ready to get on the phones. I do an entire one-on-one. It's broken up into four parts, and I can share the structure of it. But I go back through all of it because I think we also forget that we spoke to somebody 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. They were super excited because they heard that you were making a lot of money, and you could have talked about how hard it was for 45 minutes. And the second you said that you made millions of dollars, they don't care, right? They're like, I'm excited. So I go back through it again, right? And I'm like, I want to sit down and have an intentional meeting. And this is obviously for my direct agents, and go back through, okay, section one, right? It's always going to be, what is your why? And it can't just be about making a certain amount of money in a month. Like, and if anybody is here and hasn't identified a stronger why than a monthly income, you've got to, because you won't make it 5 years if all you want to do is go make 10 grand in a month or make 15 grand in a month. This business is too hard. You have to have a long-term why that drives you. And for us, some of those are retiring young, right? For me, it's 35, hopefully, because I'm 27 now. So I think I'm on track, but you never know, right? So retiring young to have like the true ability to do whatever I want with my day-to-day life. But in order to do that, right, we have to have used a lot of money very well, right? Have 10 to $15 million invested. That way, even if we're only making 10% a year, like we have enough money coming in off that we can do whatever we want with our life, right? Have 100 doors, right? Meaning 100 rental properties, or 100 units, right? So those are some long-term goals that for Ryan and I, even when we hit 100K income month, a 200K income month, we weren't like kicking our feet up like, cool, I'm good, right? And that's what I see happen so often with agents is their biggest goal coming into this is to have a 10K month or 15K month. So what happens those 2 days where you get 6 grand deposit into your bank account? If you're like most people, you're going to go and disappear for 3 weeks. And that's what kills new agents. So identifying a strong why. And then two, I go back, I ask them, I go through expectations, which is attending every single agency call. So like these types of calls, any training calls, we have an in-house like sales trainer that runs a call every single day. The expectation, and I explain this very clearly in our one-on-one, is that you will attend every single one of those. If you can't make it, just let me know why. Until you're issue paying 20K plus a month, because that's where you're making real money, right? So those are some of it. I also make sure that they actually are going to track KPIs. If you know your numbers, it's easy to make them look good, right? But if you don't know your numbers, I have no idea how to help you, nor does anybody, right? So if you guys don't know what KPIs are, it's key performance indicators. That just is a fancy way of saying tracking your activity, right? How many dials am I doing? How many pickups? How many presentations? How many apps? How many closes, right? And then from there, I ask them what they want their monthly income to look like, and I reverse engineer an activity level, a schedule, and a lead spend with them based off of what they're telling me they want to profit, not issue pay, profit, right? So that'll include me calculating out your conversions, right? Hey, not every single product's going to pay exactly your comp level. So let me account for that. Let me account for 75% advance. Let me account for chargebacks. And I give them a daily goal that includes styles, presentations, and sales that they need to be hitting in order to do that profit goal, right? So if they aren't doing that standard every single day, that activity every single day, if they come to me, Frank, and they're stressed out, guess what I'm going to refer to? Okay, well, we sat down, we broke down exactly what activities you need to be doing every single day. I haven't seen you update the KPI tracker, which either means one, you're not doing it, or two, you just don't care enough to track it. How am I supposed to care enough to mentor you?
One thing I want to add though is, sorry, but
Go
one thing
ahead.
I want to add is like when we set these expectations, you can see like who like is intentionally following these and then who's just like totally doesn't care, right? And that's actually like the reason why we do it is because the people that intentionally follow this stuff, like they could totally suck at first, but we're gonna like these are people that are committed, right? And so those are people that we're able to we when we see the people doing that, we're like,
We spend
this
a
is
lot of
someone
time
I'm
with
going to
them.
spend a lot of my time with.
Yep.
I'm going to help them get better, and like our success rate with those people is like 100%. Where the people who just like don't listen, who won't show up, who won't show up to the calls, who won't do any of this stuff, they're not plugged in. I don't really spend as much time with that person. Like the most time I'll spend with them is asking them, hey, why aren't you doing these things? And that's basically it. So
Yep.
sorry.
So that's kind of a brief summary of kind of how we go through it with a new agent. But my biggest thing is clarity, right? I would rather not hire you and like be because you're clear on the fact that, hey, this is going to require a level of like attention and expectation that I don't want to adhere to. That's totally fine. I'd rather know that though. That way, the people that are coming in that are willing to do those things get more of my time and attention because that's where it's best spent. So I had to get out of this. Like when people talk about doing enough like recruiting activity to bring enough people in, it's not to like bring everybody in and let them all write a bunch of business and go broke. It's you go through the quantity to find the quality, right? So like it's bringing enough people in that you find the Franks, you find the Stans, you find the people that really, really want this and you help them,
I don't
right?
know if you mentioned too, but like some of the expectations that we set, like hours wise, like obviously we can't legally enforce hours, but I tell people, hey, the successful people on our team are working like a minimum 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. If they don't have a sale by 6 p.m., they're working late, right? Like I don't know if you've ever heard Ed Milet, like the power of one more, right? Doing one more is going to help you get ahead of everybody. If you do that every single day, over a year, you're going to have 300 more, right? Over 10 years, you have 3,000 more. Like that's how you're going to develop your skill set. And we also tell people, working Saturdays, at least Saturday mornings, 8 to noon, especially when you're brand new, you're going to just get a lot more reps in. You're going to develop that skill set faster and shorten your learning curve because you got to think logically. Like everybody has a learning curve coming into this, and everybody has a finite amount of like capital
Resources. Yep.
capital to buy leads. So it's like knowing that if you don't make a sale at some point, you will run out of money that will take you out of the business. Your goal should be to like learn it as quickly as possible and shorten that learning curve. So your mentality at the beginning needs to be like do as much volume as humanly possible, as fast as possible, so that it would be unreasonable for you to fail.
That makes sense. So are you starting agents? I mean, it makes a lot of sense actually. Who does you said you guys do a call every day, a team training. How long is that training?
We do a couple. So we're big on, I don't know if you've read like Rich Dad Poor Dad, but like we're big on identifying when something is better done by us or by other people. So we
Mhm.
actually have his name's Connor, and we pay him to do daily training calls for new agents. It's called F90. So brand new agents come in their first 90 days. They're expected to attend those. They're at the same time every single day, and they have different topics. Our sales trainer actually runs those. And he does other things like role play with our new agents and stuff like that. Myself and Ryan do run like daily morning huddles. They're like 20 to 30 minutes on different topics every single morning at 8:15 Pacific Standard Time, so people can jump in and hear from us directly. And then we have weekly agency calls on Thursdays, and then people are also expected to go to Sean's
Yeah,
call on
so basically
Fridays.
our structure is like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we run the morning huddle, which is like a sales training, mindset training, all that stuff. Thursday, we have our agency call, which basically takes place of that. And then Friday, we have Sean's call.
And then
And
new
so
agents above and beyond that are also doing a call at 11:30 Pacific with our sales trainer, and they're expected to attend every single one of
we
these.
like doing that though, like having something every day in the morning because it kind of gets, especially for new agents, it's like they get to plug into something first thing and then they're like they have the whole rest of the day just to dial and it kind of creates this like daily structure for them.
It gets them
Yeah.
on, right? Like if I do something at 8 a.m., here's a theory behind it. You're gonna like go and take a shower and brush your teeth and make sure you're on by 8, right? Like you're showing up for a shift. And that's kind of our thought process behind it is that we start the day with some value that you want to make it for. So you're gonna make sure you're ready to get on and log into Discord at 8 a.m., right? So that's kind of the thought process behind it. And then we kind of just use as an opportunity to do some training on things that we're seeing people need help with, right? Every single day, every single morning, we get some time to go over those things with them directly.
Okay. Um, what kind of are you starting people on final expense? You starting them on vet? You starting them on whatever it is?
I mean, it kind of just depends. Like, I usually start my agents on literal like bronze or silver ILC leads if they don't have much money coming in because they can get a lot of them for cheap. They're not going to make a ton of money with those, but they'll at least get some some reps in. They'll make a few
Yeah.
sales. They'll get some commissions to reinvest. If they're if they do have some money coming in, I'll usually start them on either aged ethos or fresh ethos. And those are pretty much like the two avenues that I start people with. Once they've gotten those down, then we'll typically have them just like set up an ad or do some other like goat leads, whatever.
Our objective in the beginning is to gauge two things. The skill set, because everyone has a clientele and like approach that works better for them, and it's hard for us to know at first, which is why I like the ethos route. Like it requires a level of like attention to products and just to the business in general that I think gives you a lot of insight as to where people are gonna work the best, right? Is it mortgage? Is it IULs? So we want to keep it simple at first and not offer too much variety on what they can do. Right. So better, more experienced agents are going to start on ethos. And like, no matter where you come from, if you don't have as much experience for money, you're starting on the like the silvers or the bronze, because it gives us an idea of, are you going to sit there and just dial, right? Or are you going to make a million and gazillion excuses as to why you can't or shouldn't or couldn't, right? And then two, giving you practice with the apps, the objections, like even experienced salespeople, right? They'll come in and it's hilarious. It's like they've never seen technology before, or like, you know what I mean? Or like they're just trying to figure out, like, I know sales concepts, I know about assumption, I know about rapport, but where do I apply that? Where is that important in the insurance sale? Like there's still going to be that adjustment period. And I don't want to burn through all of your capital on expensive
Right.
leads
Yep.
by testing it on like 30 leads that cost you $40. So that's like the concept behind it. Even if you have some money, I'm still not going to start you on a super fresh lead unless it's an ethos because they're only $15, right? And you're going to sell them to the people that want it. Because like you need to like get the jitters out, right? You need to mess up a couple times. So it's pretty simple when people start. And then from there, we gauge how quickly are you learning, right? How much work do you really need to see if we want to continue keeping you on that lead strategy or if we want to launch you into like fresh ad campaign or something like that.
I got you. Yeah, and I that's funny when you recruit someone that's been in sales for a while and they're like, I'm a great salesman, and then try to sell life insurance because it's completely different. I don't care what you sold. There's nothing like selling life insurance because
Yep.
you don't, I'm giving you a piece of paper. Like, here you go. When
Yep.
you're approved, congratulations. And they're like, I put this in a safe for the next 30 years because I'm not
Yeah.
dying tomorrow. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I agree. I think that's huge. And a lot of agents, do you have like a step? So when we were uh, mail-ins, we would have like we had a sheet and it was like when you come in, you start with $250 and you get this amount of leads and you should write this much. And it was all the way up to the goal, which was $2,000 a week, because nobody starts there, right?
Yep.
How do you guys step them up in that direction? So you talked about we don't just motivate them and teach them scripts, but you also teach them how to run a business, how to spend their money. How do you talk to agents about when they get deposited 6 grand, how much they should put back in the business, how much they should set aside for taxes, chargebacks, all that stuff? What does that look like?
So
I mean, starting out, like honestly, starting out, I tell them, I'm like, whatever you make in your first like couple weeks, at least, all needs to go back into leads.
I
Like
like
you should
that.
be dumping all of it back in because like you're, I mean, I had a guy, he made like 1,700 bucks and he just dumped all that into like fresh ethos leads and he got a ton of leads, right? And now he's going to make a ton of sales out of those because he has so many opportunities. So that's basically starting out kind of what we do. But then I don't know, like for me, I always have lived by the 80/20 rule. And so I save 80% of everything that I make and I put 20% back in, which I know a lot of agency owners and people they're like that's kind of a lot to save, but for me in my mindset, I was like, you know what? I need to save just in case like I need to hedge myself in case something happens. Like if God forbid we went from 700K down to 230K, got a whole bunch of roll up debt from that situation, like if we hadn't saved money, it would have been a lot scarier. I think we had like 100 grand saved at the time, so it wasn't like that bad.
I
Yeah.
something to note about that though is all that 20% was going straight towards the business. So it's like a lot of people like, how are you saving 80%? Well, we didn't have lifestyle creep, right? Like we didn't like I was driving my beat up Toyota Camry that had literally no hubcaps. Ryan would yell at me because he's like, Morgan, think people are gonna think that we're literally
Yeah,
lying when we say we
I
make
think we,
money.
we were making like
Like
100 grand a month at the time, and she's still driving this like beat to heck old
he would get
Toyota.
I
mad at
ran
me about it.
appointments in a Camry. That's a good car. They'll run
It's a great
forever,
car. Oh my God, it was
forever.
amazing. But the thing, and I think it literally broke down outside of a lock-in, so that wasn't very good. But like the biggest thing for us was like all of that money is going straight back into the business. Like all like the stuff that we do now, like we already have invested millions of dollars and like done all the things that we need to do before we started doing all that, right? And I think it's like it's funny because I remember Sean saying this, and this stuck with me. And it's something that I've like really think that Ryan and I have kind of like modeled in especially the beginning stages of our business was he's like, do you want to know why no one else is going to go build FFL? He's like, no one was willing to not make money. And like not saying that people aren't gonna not like aren't gonna make money, but like he acted like he wasn't making anything because he was so set on like building the business. He didn't go buy the Lambo. He didn't go do all this fancy stuff with it. And I think people like sometimes they're here for 3, 4 months and they're like get a couple big months under their belt and they're looking at cars, right? Like they're looking at
Yeah,
all these
for sure.
upgrades to their lifestyle. I'm like, dude, don't be doing any of that until you've been making this money for a year
Mm-hmm.
consistently, right? Because things can
Mm-hmm.
change like that. And so I think a lot of people, it's not that they can't keep the business expenses going. They can't keep the expenses going because they raise everything else in their life, right? So that's like if you came in spending 500 bucks a week, if you can't spend 500 bucks a week after 3 months, that's a you thing, right? Because you came in making a couple grand in your previous job, right? That means that you didn't manage your money well, right? And you started to creep up on these other things because you felt like you should be able to.
Yeah, money management. I don't know if this is said enough, but money management is actually like
Half the battle
one
with
of the
it.
most important pieces of this
No
business.
doubt.
A lot of people come in and they're maybe really good at sales, maybe they have the mindset, but the piece that they're missing is that money management, and they end up going broke because of that. And that's something that we learned early on, and we're like, hey, we got to make sure that we hedge ourselves for these times, and pretty much like everything that we bought, obviously we didn't buy anything nice for a long time. We were living in a crappy little apartment. We downsized all our bills when we got into this just because we knew we're like, hey, we got to give ourselves the best chance of success. But when we did end up buying the nice home and the nice cars and all that, we were able to like we were at a position where we could buy those things in cash many times over.
If we wanted to.
Yeah.
So that was huge for us, which some people might give you the opposite advice. There's a lot of people that live and breathe by spend every single cent that you make. But for us, I think that's why we're able to keep such a level head when things slow down or speed up, or there's things that change, because they will. They'll get changed on you overnight in business sometimes. Like, we're okay, right? Because
Yeah.
we're smart about the decisions that we made. And so I think that's something, at least for us, that we try to really, really emphasize with our team, is like, be reasonable, like invest into your business, right? But be reasonable in everything else. Like, don't be the guy that has a 10K month and does like Dominic's like Friday through Sunday every day, every weekend. Like don't do that. You know what I mean?
Some
Dominic's
other
is good.
advice. Oh, we
It's
love it,
really
man.
So,
good.
but I want to touch on before you get like and because there's some people on here that like if they swallowed a lump of coal, they'd shit out a diamond. They're so tight with their money.
Yeah.
And like you heard, Ryan started that whole thing out with like your first few weeks, months in the business, 100% of what you're making goes back in.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
he wasn't, y'all weren't saving that 80% for retirement. You were saving that 80% so that if something happened in the business, you
You
had the
can
money to
still
keep
put the
investing.
20% back in.
Wasn't like
Yes.
I'm saving this for a rainy day fund so I can live. And no,
No.
you were saving it so you could continue to fund your business. You just didn't
Yep.
raise your business expenses to the point where they were so astronomically high. Because I can convince you, or
Exactly.
I
Correct.
can convince myself that any purchase I make is for the business. Like I could go out and buy a $400,000 watch, be like, well, if I buy this watch, I'll recruit age. It's a business
Yeah.
expense, right? We all can play that game. So I
Yeah.
don't want y'all to get it twisted and think, see, Ryan said I should save 80% of my money. No, it's not what he's saying. They were making 100 grand a month plus when he was saving 80%. So his business was still running. And if he needed a little bit more, he was not like, oh, I got to save 80. No, if it was 61 month because he got a new office and or new office furniture, it's
That's
not the
why
end
we
of the world.
saved.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
why you
That
save.
that
That's
Yeah,
why we
exactly.
saved.
That 80% was to have some additional leverage in case we needed it. And that's something that Sean actually told me a while back is he was like, you know, spend money on your business, but spend money if you know only if you know it's going to grow the business
Yeah.
or the business needs it, right? Like don't just go like blowing money on it for no reason. And the same thing with like leads. Like you need to spend the money on leads because that's going to help you make more money. It's going to help you grow your business.
Yep. And I think the biggest thing that we always try to emphasize with people is like, this isn't your money, it's your business's money. And like that's what the mentality we have to be in that first year in business is like, and that's I think part of setting proper expectations. Like this is a long-term play. Like year one in this is tough, right? So you might be putting in pretty much everything above and beyond what it costs to live, which is okay. Like a lot of people are there year one, and that's where I always tell people, I'm it like if it takes putting everything back in to like gain some momentum, then you need to do that, because there's no point to be here. And like everyone knows what it's like to only have $200 worth of leads or $300 worth of leads. It's not fun. You have people's voicemails memorized, right? You're like, I've called this guy 17 times. I know exactly what he says when he picks up the phone. Like this guy, I've heard his voicemail a couple. Like, we know what it's like to be there. So don't force yourself to be there if you have the money, because you want to catch the momentum. And that was our mindset that first year. So kind of what we mean is like, we didn't raise the lifestyle expenses because we saw 30 grand coming in. Like we kept everything else the same and invested more and more into the business because we knew that meant it would produce more and more revenue. And so I think that's like obviously an important distinction. That first year is not save a clock, right? That first year is like, let me like put everything into this business to create a machine. But once the machine is going, let me protect it and not abuse it, right?
Mm.
So that's I think the biggest, mentality shift for people coming in is like they see the dinners, they see all these things that people that are 5 years along into the insurance world are doing, and they feel like after 4 months they should be able to do that. Like for us, it took years to get to that space. So
For most, it did. Like it took
yeah,
us years to get to that space too. I mean,
yeah,
I was selling, but it wasn't like we weren't making six figures a month, and that's I think a lot of people's goal is to get to that point,
yep,
which is pretty cool. All right, so I'm gonna ask this one question because I think this is a common theme for people like that aren't building maybe or don't know how to build a massive business if they're not in an office. Is most of your team virtual? And how big is your office, by the way?
So, yeah, most of our team is virtual. We run kind of a hybrid model. Obviously, we have like probably 75 to 80% of our team is scattered all over the US. And then like 25, probably like 25% of our team is here in the office. We have an office here in Scottsdale. It's about 10,000 square feet. We've got around room in here for probably about 120 people. We just moved in here though, like 2 months ago. So we have quite a bit of room for, to fill it up. But the reason why, I mean, for the first 2 years in the business, we were fully remote. But I was thinking, I'm like, we need to get an office, even if we do have a lot of remote people, because I wanted like a central hub where we could really like like close relationships with our team, where, we could have a lot more people come in, like have people fly out and train for their first 2 weeks, where we can really wrap our hands around people and create a good culture. And that's exactly what it did for us. And then what happened was that culture started to bleed into even our remote team, right? Because like everybody's so tight knit now.
It created I think what it did was it created a standard that we needed to create, and it was easier to maintain that standard in the office. Then we started to create a lot more people that were building, that were mentally locked in. We started to create more high producers, and that just translated to the rest of the team. Like even like for example, Trey Howe, right? He's on our team. He's $1 million producer. Like we had people doing 30, 40K, but we didn't have people pushing to do 100 because it wasn't in front of their face. And then when I hired Trey, all of a sudden we see all these people on our team now are hitting 60, 70, 80, 100K months. Not because they couldn't have done that the whole time, but because it was like this standard just got elevated because people are seeing what he was doing. They're seeing him work in the Discord, how late he's on, what he's doing, how much he's spending, and all of a sudden more and more people are just pushing themselves to do it. So I think the office helped us create that. But this is always what I've maintained when it comes to building this business. You need the office, right, to help you develop people that need you around them all the time. But don't be afraid to hire remote because those people, when you find them, they will be your top producers.
Yeah.
Every single person in our top 5 is a remote agent. Why? Because they aren't getting babied,
Yeah,
right?
the reason
self-sufficient.
why they were able to make it as a remote agent is because they're self-starters or self-motivated people.
Yeah.
And that's why they're all.
So they'll be your top producers. You'll just have to filter through more people to find them.
My advice too, for anybody who wants to build is get the damn office, right? Get yourself an office. The reason why is obviously everything that I mentioned, but it's going to make you hold yourself personally accountable as a leader, like so much more. You have to be there by 8 a.m. to open the doors, or your team will not respect you and they're not going to show up, right? So like for us, I was like, man, like we have to be here every single day, and we're the first ones in because we got to open this thing, and we're gonna be the last ones out. And that's gonna allow us to create that standard within the team. And now we have, a whole bunch of offices opening up in our downline. So it's super exciting.
Yeah, so
Dude, here's what's crazy. Like you're trying to retire at 35 and which is in 7-ish years from now. And you've only been doing this for 4 years. Like I think people lose sight of just how fast you can get to where you're trying to get to in this business, but it's not overnight. But where in the hell? I mean, unless you and I've seen you, Ryan. You're about as tall as I am, so you can't dunk a basketball.
Nope.
Ryan can't throw a 100-mile-an-hour baseball. We're not big enough to play NFL football. So, like, where else are you going to make that kind of money in 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years? And even
You're
if it
not.
took you 8 years, you would have spent how many years would you have spent in law school?
3, and then probably around 400 grand in debt.
3, but you have to go through your first phase of school, right? So a total of like 7 or something. Isn't
Yep.
it like 7 years to be so like 400 grand in debt, and then to make the kind of money y'all are making now, you'd have to be an attorney in like New York City, like at a huge law firm and a managing
I have
partner.
to own the damn law
You'd have to
firm.
own it.
Like
So
I
it's
wouldn't be
like,
making that as an attorney, but
but
yeah,
that would have been 7 years of your life to start at the bottom. Y'all can do this. You can do exactly what Morgan and Ryan have done in 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And then
Yep.
live a really good life, work your ass off, and then not have to be tied to the office at 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. last one. But like, who's not willing to give up 5, 6, 7, 8 years of their life to do that? I don't know. I guess there's a lot of people that aren't willing to do it because there's not more people doing it, but it's crazy to me. All right, so we try to cut this off at right at 7. So I'm gonna open this. You can't unmute because that freaks me out. If y'all have any questions for Morgan or Ryan, type it in the chat and I'll read it to them. See what happens is if we let people unmute, then at least 3 times throughout the call, someone's unmuted and talking, and it like sends me over the edge. And I try not to be over the edge anymore because it's not a good
You're doing a
look.
great job.
So I'm working on it. Did y'all hear me reading the slides? It's like a
Yeah.
2-year-old. It was awful. I can
Oh no,
barely
you
read.
crushed it.
Yeah, okay. Thanks. I appreciate it. Any questions, type in the chat. If not, we'll let them go because they are stupid busy. And I'm super grateful and appreciative for y'all sharing some time with us. But if it were me and I was listening to this, I would be asking 100 questions because that's just my style. That was epic, Jesse. I know Jesse always has questions because Sean like lays into Jesse on the Friday call. You never ask questions, and then he asks a question. He's like, "That's not a good question, Jesse. You need to." Jesse's like, "I can't win." What
I
is
think if I
y'all's?
could freestyle for a second, Frank, I think
Yes, please do.
one thing I kind of wanted to touch on is like a lot of people don't not believe in the opportunity they have. They don't believe in themselves. And that was true for me. And I think the disconnect that I had a lot of times listening to people on these calls, I mean, shoot, I listened to you, Marissa, like a bunch of different people when I was starting out. And I was just somebody that was on this Zoom, like thinking about like, dude, like that, like it feels so far away. Like, how could that ever be me? I don't even know how to write a 20K month, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
and it almost paralyzes you from like even just doing step one.
So that's the
And
analysis by paralysis or
the
paralysis by
and
analysis. There.
so me, like Ryan can attest to this, like perfectionist to a T, like person who wants everything to be perfect before I take a step. And what I had to realize is that my perfectionism was just another form of procrastination because I
yeah,
was afraid of failing, I was afraid of screwing up, I was afraid of not making it, I was afraid of putting my name behind something and not doing anything with it. And it just kept me in place. And I think
Mm,
something that happened, at least for me, that actually created a shift was I'm not going to focus on where everyone else is at. I'm going to focus on what can I do today to like follow through on my word to myself. How
yeah,
am I going to wake up this morning and like just make today as good of a day as possible, do as much as I can today, not for the next week or the next. It's kind of like if you want to lose some weight and you want to drop 60 pounds and you try to cut out sugar and alcohol and carbs and this and that, you're not going to stick with it, right? So don't overwhelm yourself with like these big, like have the big goals, but just break it down into what can I do today? And how can I show up today? And it's not going to be 100%. Like you might not knock every single day out of the park, but if you just intentionally every single day are like, how can I show up for my business today? That's all you need to do. That's all I did. Like it was one foot in front of the other for a really long time after we got debt. I was so stressed out. I was just so worried about what I was going to do, but all I could do is what I could do that day. And that's how I got through it. And next thing you know, you turn a bad week into a good day into a good week, and a good week turns into a good season. So that's, I think, if I could break it down, that would be like my biggest piece of advice.
yeah. And for me starting out, like I was a little different. Like I had self-belief, but I just didn't, I had no idea what I was doing. But my
right.
mentality starting out is I was like, dude, I know I suck, but I'm just gonna like I'm gonna just do I'm every single day, like I'm gonna hire a ton of people. I'm gonna make as many sales as I can, and I'm just gonna fail forward and do as much activity as I can because I know that every time I screw up, I'm just gonna learn from it. I'm gonna get a little bit better. Right. And then like at some point, I'm just gonna have screwed up so many times and learned every little possible thing that could go wrong. And eventually I'm going to polish this thing up to the point where I'm actually really freaking good at it. And so,
Yeah,
and I had to identify like what were the different skill sets in the business that I needed to attack with activity every day. So like selling, right? Recruiting, training, like making sure that I'm also teaching my people how to get good at recruiting, how to teach their people. And so all those different skill sets I had to practice over and over, and so that was my mentality coming in. A lot of people though they struggle with that. I think coming in, they're like afraid to even start. And I'm like, you're never
yeah,
gonna like study so much that you're gonna be so good at
correct.
this before you start.
Yeah.
You have to just do it, right? And
It's
then
just like riding a
eventually,
bike. Like
Yep.
you can watch a video on riding a bike for 10 years, but until you hop on that son of a bitch and start
Yeah.
pedaling, ain't nothing happening. So, dude, because I think people fall in those two categories pretty much. Like
Yep.
they need to know everything, but really in reality they're just afraid to fail. So their excuse is I don't know enough to start, or I'm
Self-sabotage.
good. I don't mind failing. I'll figure it out eventually. I just got to keep going. So I think that's and you two are met, which is why it works. And Jamie and I were kind of the same way. Like I just didn't give a
Yeah.
rip, and she
We
was like,
level each
I
other
don't
out a
know
little
enough.
bit.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, balance each other out. All right, I'm gonna try and answer. We'll wrap it up.
What,
I'll
yeah,
ask some more
question two.
questions. Sorry, because this is really good, but I'm gonna keep it to an hour. Well, can anybody hop on your morning Zoom or 8 a.m. like what do you guys call it? The morning mojo?
Well, huddle.
The
Well, the
huddle.
hard
Yeah,
part
yeah.
is it's in our Discord server, which is typically only going to be
Good.
like people that are a part of the server.
Perfect.
But I mean, we definitely can run some to give an example for people. Like we can open it up to people, maybe like tomorrow or next week or something like that, so you guys can see an
Yeah, maybe we
example of
could
how we run it.
run it on our Zoom for like a day
Yeah,
or
Yeah.
something.
we can run it
Cool.
on like our
That'd be cool. That'd be
yeah.
cool. And then this is a good one. I like this one because I think a lot of people have a hard time doing this. How do you dismiss agents when they don't meet your expectations?
Well,
I think you have to like just I frame it from a perspective of like I care about you because it is true. Like
Sure.
I will have a conversation with them and say, listen, like these are the expectations that we set, and then you're doing something completely different. And what's going to happen is you're heading towards a destination where you're broke and you're not able to pay your bills and you're going to completely be screwed. And like, I actually care about you as a person. You know, I like you. I don't want to see that happen to you.
so we'd rather pull it now.
So we'd rather like either adjust and make so that way I know I can help you be successful because I want to see you win. Or
Sure.
like if you're just like, hey, I don't want to do these expectations and like this just really isn't for me, like no problem, dude. Like I'm not gonna be mad at you, but I think we should just make that decision now before you end up in that situation. And that's like that's me being honest with them, right? And most of the time they're gonna either adjust it and start doing the right things, or they're gonna be like, you know what, dude, you're 100% right. Like I need to figure something else out. And like we
Yeah.
end things actually on a good term. So,
Nine times
And they
out of
may
10,
come back.
yeah.
and a lot of times they
They
do.
do, a lot of them.
Yeah,
Funny enough, because you halt it before it gets bad and they hate you, right? Like that's
for
our
sure.
goal. It's like
Correct.
it 9 times out of 10 when people exit the business, they're going to exit blaming who? Their upline, right? So like for
Yep.
us, I'm like, if I see a level of activity and a mentality and something that is leading you there, I'd rather cut it now, like give you a chance to go. And some people need some context. It's kind of like when you break up with your girlfriend, you realize dang, actually, I really miss you. I want you back. You know what I mean? Sometimes you
Yeah.
need the context of going back to a normal job and remembering what it's like to work all day for such a small check, right? And
Mhm.
like it gives you back the gratitude piece of this business because
Yep.
somebody who's not grateful is never going to make it.
Oh yeah, and then they leave, and 4 months later, they're seeing some of their friends that are still in the business that are just absolutely
Killing
crushing.
it.
Like
Yeah.
start getting FOMO, and they're like, "Man, if I would just wouldn't have left, and I would have stuck it out for those 4 months and worked hard, like look where I could be," you know. So
Yeah.
Well, and
So,
I'd argue like they don't if you're not doing that, then you really maybe don't care about the people
yep.
because you care more about A, not hurting their feelings, or B, your bank account. But when you truly see someone struggling and you know it's not going to work and you don't say anything, that just means you don't care about them. So
Yep.
when you actually care, it's really easy to have those. Because if you have a kid and you're watching them do something stupid, like best
Yeah.
believe you're going to say something. I mean,
yeah,
I've got my son's on this call. Like, ask him; he'll tell you. I've said a
Yeah.
bunch of stuff when he was doing stupid shit.
Yeah.
But if he's not my kid and I don't really care about him, I'm probably not going to say nothing. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
it's
yeah.
like you treat your agents true like you would treat your children or your brother, or your sister. You'll always win. So, guys, now there's tons of questions in here, but no big deal. Thank you all so much for sharing some time. It's always the way it works, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing with us. I greatly appreciate y'all. I have a blast when we hang out, and I can't wait to do it again. But if y'all ever need anything from us here at National Success Zone, let us know. We'd be more than happy to help. So, thank
Absolutely,
you all.
Absolutely.
brother.
Thank you,
Appreciate you
Frank.
guys.
Keep
Thank you.
crushing it.
Have a good one,
See you
y'all.
guys. Have a great night. Love you guys. Bye.
You
You
too,
too.
man.